Let me ask, you know, we're in a very smart college. It's worth pursuing a discussion on these points. So there are Americans whose present benefits are due to past advantage.
Let me tell you about this incredible moment when Dinesh D'Souza took down a woke student and left him absolutely speechless.
After World War II, the white middle class soared to prosperity as a result of bills like the GI Bill. And African Americans who were coming home from war didn't get those benefits simply because they were African American.
Think of it like this: a smart college setting, a debate about race, privilege, and history. The student throws out the usual woke arguments about systematic racism, historical injustices, and white privilege. And then, Dinesh steps in and dismantles his points with such precision. It's almost a work of art.
A Veteran Affairs denied African Americans access to those benefits simply because of their race. And you are correct in saying that no one today dealt with that particular issue. With that being said, however, there was wealth amassed.
The student starts with a familiar narrative. After World War II, white middle-class families prospered thanks to bills like the GI Bill, while African Americans were systematically denied these benefits.
That still exists today. And when I think of your example about an individual who works as a janitor and sees people dining in a beautiful cafe walking home from work, I want to ask you, do you think any of that indignation?
He argues that this created wealth that still benefits white people today, and that this historical injustice justifies the indignation felt by those who see the disparity in prosperity. He talks about systematic blocks and ongoing discrimination, painting a picture of an America deeply entrenched in racial inequality.
Americans who were here first, right, had a huge advantage. We presume that they owned the whole country. Now, by the way, let's pause for a moment. How do you get to own a country?
Dinesh listens patiently and then drops a bombshell. He asks a very simple question. Do you believe in a rule of social justice today that says we should figure out whose ancestors did what to whom and return goods that were illicitly taken? He goes on to illustrate how absurd this idea is by bringing up the concept of land ownership.
Because I'm the only guy here. You're a shepherd, and my descendants will now inherit the earth, and anybody who shows up is a usurper. Rousseau says that the first guy who puts up a fence and claims he owns something is a con man.
He explains that the American Indians, who are often considered the original owners of the land, acquired it through conquest themselves. So, if we are going to give land back, do we return it to the original conquerors?
So you have all these successive invasions, right? Are you actually saying that you believe in a rule of social justice today that says globally, let's look at this as a global rule of justice. I'm going to figure out whose ancestors did what to whom, and I'm going to return goods that were illicitly taken from...
The whole idea becomes a never-ending loop of historical reparation that's impractical and impossible to...
as an impetus to change things. So I don't just say I have white privilege, I try to help those who have not benefited from such privilege.
How? Hold on. Let's pursue this for a moment.
Sure.
The woke student tries to keep up, claiming that recognizing one's privilege is an impetus to change things. But Dinesh isn't having any of it. He asks him directly, since you acknowledge benefiting from white privilege, why don't you give up your seat at this prestigious college to a disadvantaged minority? The student stumbles, unable to commit to such a personal sacrifice, revealing the hypocrisy of his position. Incredible actions, but cannot justify his continued benefit from a system he criticizes.
Going with this, because I think you're...
All right, well, too bad. All of which is to say, it's not like I picked anyone out to help based on the color of their skin, but I was a tutor for people who tended to be low income when I was in high school. I suppose that would be one direct answer to your question, because oftentimes disparate educational opportunities are grounded in disparate economic systems.
Dinesh doesn't stop there. He points out the broader hypocrisy of the left, advocating for social justice while clinging to their own privileges. He compares it to someone demanding everyone give 10% of their wealth to the poor, but refusing to do it themselves. His argument is clear. If you truly believe in your cause, you should lead by example.
One of the benefits of a good education of reading people like Nietzsche is you begin to understand how deep the human desire is for moral self-exculpation. Moral self-exculpation. Now, you say, and I didn't say this, you said this, I'm a beneficiary of illicit white privilege. Okay?
Illicit?
He also goes into the two options America has faced in dealing with past injustices: establishing equal rights under the law, or trying to correct history by redistributing goods and opportunities.
In this current system, there is legality. I mean,
illicit means immoral.
Okay, then
immoral white
okay,
privilege.
yeah.
Okay. So then if I were to say to you, there are surely many deserving minorities who would like to come to Amherst but have the inherited...
Dinesh firmly supports the former, arguing that the latter would involve infringing on the freedoms of a free society and would be practically impossible to execute fairly. He emphasizes that the civil rights movement aimed to stop race-based discrimination and treat people equally under the law, a principle that's being undermined by the modern social justice movement.
Beneficiary of illicit privilege, would you be willing to step aside voluntarily, putting your own moral mouth where your self-proclaimed virtue is, and give your seat, not my seat. I realize you may be super generous.
Another discussion. It is clear that Dinesh has not only out-argued but also exposed the fundamental flaws in the woke ideology. The student, left without a solid rebuttal, is a shout-out to the power of Dinesh's logical and fact-based approach.
The Amherst are turned away to open spaces for minorities, but I'm not talking about you acting out your virtue on them. I'm talking about you acting out your virtue on you. Are you willing to give up your illicit seat that you don't deserve here at Amherst to make room for a disadvantaged minority, yes or no?
Watching Dinesh D'Souza in action is a masterclass in how to take on woke culture. He doesn't just disagree, he dismantles their arguments piece by piece, exposing the inconsistencies and hypocrisies.
The core of the American system, this will actually answers your question directly, is that what do we do about the conquest ethic of the past? And here there are two options. There are two options. One option is we establish
It is a reminder that true change requires more than just lofty ideals and virtue signaling. It demands personal accountability and logical consistency.
Based discrimination, we've had racial hierarchy. Let's stop. Let's treat people according to the color of this, according to the content of their character. Equal rights under the law.
So, the next time you hear someone spouting off about privilege and historical injustices, just remember Dinesh's approach. Cut through the noise with facts, logic, and a challenge for them to put their money where their mouth is. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.